Now at 6, this is Fox 61, Connecticut's news station.
Today marks 24 years since the September 11th attacks. Good evening and thanks for joining us for the Fox 61 News at 6. I'm Brent Harden.
And I'm Annette Montgomery.
Well, nearly 3,000 lives were lost that day and the pain is still deeply felt. Ceremonies took place across the country, in New York, at the Pentagon, and in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. And of course right here in Connecticut with moments of silence, the tolling of bells and the reading of names.
And what you just heard a few seconds ago was played at the Pentagon early this morning. There was a moment of silence followed by trumpets to honor the impact of Flight 77.
Now, Fox 61's Joe Monti was in Meriden this morning at a ceremony where people reflected on what happened that terrible day and the response from America's bravest.
Thursday morning, the town of Meriden remembered the September 11th, 2001 terrorist attacks. They honored those who lost their lives and the first responders who were there on scene.
It was incredible to see how much destruction there really was.
United Airlines Flight 175 just flew into the World Trade Center's South Tower.
A recounting of the morning took place first. An American flag that flew on September 11th, 2001 was raised to half-staff. Since the attack, the flag has only ever flown on September 11th.
We pause on 9/11 to remember what that feeling was like as a nation, to come together where the American flag was not a symbol of a party or a person, but our home that we were proud of, the greatest nation on this earth.
I spoke with retired Meriden Fire Lieutenant Danny Torres, who went to several first responders' funerals that died in the aftermath of the attack.
Very touching. You saw the children crying, the parents crying. It was very touching, very painful.
He says thousands of firefighters from all over the country and the world came to pay respects. 343 firefighters died in the collapse of the Twin Towers. Torres visited the scene soon after the attacks and told us it was like life stood still.
It did not look like TV. It was so much bigger and was surreal. There were so many buildings. People think it was just two towers, but there was multiple towers. You could just see that people just got up and ran. You saw plates with food, scrambled eggs and toast, coffee still there.
Meriden Mayor Kevin Scarpati says as time goes on, it gets harder for the world to remember what happened.
Nearly 1/3 of the world's population is too young to even recall. Either they weren't born or they were too young to remember.
But some won't forget.
I was on duty that day at the firehouse, and to see it on TV and then go there and still see the things on TV, documentaries about it, you were there. It was incredible to watch, and it feels like it was yesterday.
For many, the terrorist attack in New York City feels like it was just yesterday. Today's ceremony in Meriden is just one of many around the country. 24 years later, Torres has just one message for kids. Don't forget what happened. In Meriden, Joe Monti, Fox 61.
And more than 2 decades after 9/11, that tragic day is now inspiring a movement of service. 9/11 Day started back in 2002 as a way to observe the day by filling it with as many good deeds as possible. In Bridgeport, hundreds of volunteers came together to fight hunger, packing thousands of meals for Connecticut families. Fox 61's Solene Arif shows us how one local woman has been part of this mission from the very beginning.
Behind me, there are more than 20 companies and organizations packing thousands of meals for Connecticut Food Share. But there's one woman in this crowd who's been doing this since the very beginning. If anyone knows about giving back on 9/11, it's Ellen Bowen.
This will be my 24th year volunteering with 9/11 Day. It's actually the first time I'm doing it in Connecticut. In the past, we were in New York City.
This super volunteer is also a super proud older sister. Her brother David Payne started the 9/11 Day Foundation with his friend Jay Winnick to honor Jay's brother Glenn, who lost his life on 9/11.
It's an amazing movement. It's turning a tragic day into a day of volunteerism and giving back, and it ends up making it a joyful experience for everyone involved.
Everyone involved, all 400 plus volunteers danced, sang, and cheered their way to packing 145,000 meals for Connecticut Food Share.
The need is incredible in our state, believe it or not, being such a wealthy state. 1 in 7 people faces food insecurity, including 1 in 6 children.
That's why all the meals packed during the National Day of Service and Remembrance will be sent to all corners of Connecticut.
It's going directly to our warehouse, and then it's going to be distributed to 650 local community agencies across the whole state.
A sea of hairnets everywhere you look and busy hands spent hours stacking, scooping, and sealing. Little by little, that little became a lot. And 9/11 Day reached 23 other cities across the country this year. From Seattle to Denver, 30,000 volunteers put together about 9 million meals to give back something good while remembering one of the darkest days. In Bridgeport, Solene Air, Fox 61.
Thank you so much, Solene. Well, this evening we have new developments in the shooting of 31-year-old conservative activist Charlie Kirk. The FBI has now released images of a person of interest. Take a look at these photos. Authorities say this man is tied to the killing of Kirk, but they did not say if he is the suspected shooter. A $100,000 reward is now being offered for any tips that lead to an arrest. If you have any information, you can call authorities or submit information online. Kirk was shot and killed in what authorities call a targeted attack at Utah Valley University. They believe the suspected shooter fired one shot, hitting Kirk in the neck, then jumped off a roof and ran into a neighborhood. Investigators recovered a high-powered rifle in a wooded area where the shooter took off. And tonight, that manhunt continues. And at the same time, students at Central Connecticut State University are reacting today to Kirk's death. Fox 61's Priscilla Mesa spoke with students on campus about how they're processing this news.
Here at CCSU, students tell me the news came as a shock. Some say they disagreed with Charlie Kirk's politics but still condemn the violence, while others are calling his death a loss of free speech on college campuses. Charlie Kirk was known for his open debates with students, and he sparked conversation here too.
It was really shocking, considering that he shares the same values as almost half of the country. It sets a kind of scary precedent for the rest of us.
Overall, I just think it's a very sad situation, in front of his kids and in front of his wife. And honestly, no one wishes that on anyone.
I was in disbelief. I had no idea, but it was heartbreaking. I feel terrible for his wife and 2 kids. It's horrible.
The CCSU chapter of Turning Point USA asked students to wear red today to honor his memory. In a statement, the chapter president, Ian Howell, said, in part, Charlie's profound impact on Gen Z, especially through his viral open debate videos on college campuses, will never be forgotten. And it is what makes his assassination so tragic. Political violence has no place in this country, regardless of which side it targets. And part of Charlie and Turning Point's mission is to encourage free speech and open debate.
At the end of the day, you might disagree with me, I might disagree, but we're supposed to come together as a country and be together as one.
This is supposed to be a free country now, but yet people are dying over their opinions. It just feels like there's no freedom anymore here.
The students I spoke with today all agreed on one point. Whether they supported Kirk or not, they say violence has no place on a college campus. In New Britain, Priscilla Mesa, Fox 61.
Thank you, Priscilla. And now a memorial stands outside Turning Point USA's headquarters in Phoenix to honor Charlie Kirk. Vigils are being held nationwide from Seattle to Capitol Hill and Washington, D.C., with leaders from both parties condemning the attack. President Trump says Kirk will now be awarded the Medal of Freedom. Kirk leaves behind his wife and 2 young children.
It's a solemn day in Colorado where a student shot 2 of his classmates at Evergreen High School yesterday and then turned the gun on himself. One student is expected to recover. The other is still in critical condition tonight. Their ages have not been released. The shooting happened at Evergreen High School in a Denver suburb around 12:30 in the afternoon. Police say the gunman fired shots with a revolver. We're told officers found the shooter within 5 minutes of getting there. Connecticut Attorney General William Tong says there are no more words to express the depth and loss.
Sometimes, somehow, we as a people, as a country, find a way to do better on gun violence and keeping people and children. I'm talking about kids. I have 1 kid in college, 2 in high school. That we keep our children safe and they get up every day and they go to school and they can learn and be with their friends and stay off their phones. that they can be safe and be kids.
There are no details right now about the motive for the shooting.
3 people out of Cheshire are facing animal cruelty charges tonight as part of a months-long investigation. Police say this happened back in June when Animal Control got reports of cats living in poor conditions inside a Cook Hill Road home. Police later searched that house and seized 18 cats, a dog, and other evidence. The 3 people, Jennifer, Nancy, and Philip Guest, are each charged with 19 counts of animal cruelty. They turned themselves in yesterday and are due in court later this month.
Happening tonight, the Cheshire Town Council is talking about its own investigation into the pound. The special meeting starts at 7 at Town Hall. For nearly a year, the town looked into complaints of neglect and misconduct at the pound. The investigators' full report is posted online. The animal control officer at the center of it all has since retired. Her last day is this Friday.
Right now, 3 neighbors in Manchester are displaced this afternoon after a kitchen fire forced them out of their duplex yesterday. Crews rushed to Elroy Street just before 5:30 p.m. and found heavy smoke pouring from a 2-story duplex. Firefighters stretched multiple lines and had the flames under control in less than 10 minutes. The good news is no one was hurt, but the damage left one side of the duplex unlivable. The Red Cross is helping the displaced people, and fire marshals are now looking into what caused that fire. Well, a Stamford man is facing up to decades in prison after admitting to stealing more than $28 million from his employer. Federal prosecutors say Paul Steed spent years running fake campaigns and diverting money from his employer, the candy giant Mars. He also failed to pay more than $10 million in taxes. Investigators seized millions from his accounts and are moving to take his Greenwich home. Steed faces decades in prison when he's sentenced in December.